thing for me because I was going nowhere.
No regrets, son?
No regrets. No regrets. My only regrets in life are not being a better man when I was being a shitty man.
Yeah.
Because that's the majority of my life. I wasn't the best man I could be for the majority of my life. I can honestly say today I'm the best version of me I've ever been.
Yeah.
And that feels good. So.
If he were to come and talk to you saying, hey, I'm thinking about joining, is there any field you want me to be into? Or is there any advice you'd give him saying, go into this or check out this?
I would honestly say I would recommend it to be a combat soldier like me.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily, if you don't want to be a tanker, that's fine. Go infantry, go into the cavalry, go into artillery, do something. Go special forces for all I care. Do something, but be a combat soldier because a combat soldier learns and becomes something more than your average soldier. And that's not to knock them. It's not to say anything against them, but you have to overcome and you have to learn things to be able to go next level.
There's a level of grit that you get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out of that
absolutely.
you can't manufacture anywhere else.
You're not going to obtain that anywhere else, and it starts with your drill sergeant who has likely been to combat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and your first platoon sergeant, your first section sergeant. They're going to really teach you those fine-tuned qualities that it takes to have the mental and physical fortitude to go into combat and know for 100% fact that the guy to your left and right can depend on you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're bedding down for a bit. You're on watch. I got you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to fall asleep on watch. And that takes the next level training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. Yeah.
So,
solid.
Yeah. My drill sergeant made me cry. No joke. He was a hardcore dude. And he made lots of us cry. He broke us down and built us back up, and it was no joke. But that's where it starts, and it never stops. You never stop learning as a combat soldier because you're constantly training. If I wasn't deployed somewhere, I was in the field at Fort Stewart training somewhere for weeks, months at a time.
Yeah.
And it's no joke. It's a different life.
So you never bounced bases? You were pretty much always at Stewart?
No, me and my wife, we ended up buying a house when we were real young there at Fort Stewart, and we really liked it. We remodeled the entire house and just really customized it. Her dad helped us out with that, and we really got it where we wanted it to be and didn't want to give it up. So
yeah.
I decided, my wife and kids are happy here. To me, for a while, until I got completely burnt out and lost enough friends, it was worth it to me to keep deploying to keep us there. And her parents were there, and we just really liked it.
What ended up bringing you guys back here?
Me retiring.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I ended up going to Fort Knox for a couple of years where I completely fell apart, and then when I retired, I wanted to go back to Wyoming, but she really wanted to come back to her home. So what ended up happening is I said, I'm a country boy and married a city girl, so I said, well, I'll take you home, but I will not move any closer to the city than this town here. And I pointed on a map. The first place I pointed to, I didn't know nothing about it. I just said, this is where we're going. I pointed to Arlington.
Yeah.
And that's where we ended up buying our house, and because I just knew that was the closest I would go to the city.
Yeah. 10 years ago, it was kind of country out here.
Yeah, and now it's all changed.
Changed a little bit.
Yeah. I ended up. Before I got out of the Army, I had, like I said, I had already gone into a couple treatment facilities before I got out, and I actually ended up publishing my own book, and I called that a Marne Mind: A Soldier's War with Recovery, and it's basically
Is it still available?
Yeah, you can go on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and pull it up. You can either search my name, Cy Mulholland, or just the title, A Marne Mind: A Soldier's War with Recovery. And
I'm going to read that.
Yeah, that was basically
I'm gonna buy that.
my a lot to do with my experience in combat and my efforts at recovery, dealing with PTSD. So
yeah,
it's an interesting read.
And when did you publish that?
I would say that would probably be about 6-7 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but writing is one of the most therapeutic things that I can do for myself. I actually, the very first treatment facility I went into, there was a Vietnam veteran who worked there who had been through all the things that I was going through, and he would hold a group a couple nights a week that weren't mandatory, but you could go to if you wanted to. And this is, I was inpatient, so I didn't have nothing better to do.
Yeah.
So I went, and he explained how writing had helped him with his recovery. Anything that was going on with him, he could put it down on paper, and it helped him process everything. So I gave it a try, and he recommended writing poetry. So there's some poetry in my book as well, and I ended up being really good at it.
Yeah.
So, and I include that in my book, and there's regular writing in my book and everything. But anytime I would go to the group, I would, in my spare time, I had written a poem. So I'd go to the group and I'd share it with them, and everybody was just like captivated with my writing, and I got nothing but
praise.
Praise and positive feedback for it. And I was like, wow.
And it builds you up so fast doing that.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I'm really good at this. So I kept writing and writing and writing, and eventually I had enough to publish it. So I said, I'm going to publish it. And I put my own money into it and got in contact with a publishing company and put my book out there and made sure it got in the hands of other soldiers and some libraries and stuff. And the positive feedback just continued to come.
That's actually incredible. That's one of my dreams, is to publish a book.
Yeah,
my obviously my writing is not going to be poetry and shit like that, but
it's really a fun experience. I took about a year to write it, and I was writing a lot. So it's over 100,000 words in the book, and I really took my time and did it right, and I feel good about it. I still get positive feedback for it to this day.
How many copies have you sold?
I couldn't tell you exactly how many copies. It's not like a New York Times bestseller.
Obviously, no.
Like that,
I know. I'm just curious.
But
that's
when I started selling it,
was it self-published? Then?
Yeah, I used a publishing company, but you basically put up the money for them to do all the work for you.
Yeah.
And
because they have the ins and they know how to get it done.
So then I was like, it was never my intent for it to be a big deal. I wanted it to get to people that are going through stuff that I was going through.
Yeah.
And it did. It got into the hands of soldiers, and I made sure it got. I gave a lot of free ones out and everything. And I posted it on Facebook. I made a Facebook page for it back then and everything.
You got Did you put your contact information in it? So have you ever gotten a call from someone saying, "Hey, I read your book"?
Not a call, but I would get messages and stuff online, and then I would get word from other people, like soldiers' wives would talk to my wife and stuff, and be like, "Hey, we really loved that book," and that just built me up even more, And
yeah.
I've always said I'll write at least another book, and I haven't got around to it yet, but it's definitely something I know I'll do when it's the right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's fast. That is mind blowing. I can't wait to go get that book now. I'm gonna go freaking Amazon that book.
Make sure you let me know what you think about it.
Yeah. No, because that's one of my dreams, is to become a published author.
Yeah. And why not?
Yeah, just to have something, just to have
especially
my work out there.
a day and time filled with excessive technology. It's nice to put something out there that's still just traditional book you can crack open and sit down and read. And but if you read it, I think you'll enjoy it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I know. The other thing I noticed when I was kind of going through some of your stuff on Facebook, I try and cyber stalk a little bit before we do these things, and you got a pretty intense relationship with God.
Yes. Absolutely.
Kind of one of the posts that you had was a controversial post a little bit about your spelling of the name of something, or what was this all about?
Okay, well, after I got out of the Army and the nature of, I guess, the way the war took place and the things we were doing over there, I had a lot of questions. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. I came home with a
pretty natural, right?
Yeah, with a lot of questions. Like, it didn't make any sense for us to be there. You know, it's like 9/11 happened. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. He's a bad guy. We're going to go take him out. Why?
Yeah.
You know, why? He had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11. Okay. The truth be told, and that's a whole other subject for itself, Freemason money, power, and greed is what happened in 9/11. It's absolutely an inside job, and that's a whole other discussion. But I had questions, and I started looking into these things. I started out with 9/11, and the research I did to that basically was me looking at other people's research who actually do in-depth, independent research and explain why 9/11 happened, who did it, why they did it, who stood to gain from it, who had insurance policies on the 9/11 buildings, who had insurance policies on every business that were in those towers, and it all points back to Freemason money, power, and greed. So that, I said, wow, man, there's a lot of truth here. You know, a lot of truth behind all this deception. I have even more questions.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm retired. I had nothing but time. I'm looking into this and that and the other thing. Well, in the past year, I found out that I was always a believer in God. I don't even call God God anymore. I call God when I'm talking to somebody like you or somebody else, because everybody knows God is God.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is that's not his name. God's name is actually Yahuwah. He is Elohim, and his son Jesus, who they call Jesus, is actually Yeshua HaMashiach. That comes from the translation from the
Hebrew,
Aramaic Hebrew, which is the original source. They're Hebrews. So I was like, well, why do we call him Jesus? Well, the more I looked into it, I actually came to find out that they call him Jesus is actually the translation from Greek to English. And I found out that the letter J didn't even enter the English alphabet until the year 1611. So this is 1600 years after Jesus was walking around here. Okay, the letter J didn't even exist. So before that, the Greek to English translation was Jesus, and it was spelled I-E-S-U-S. Again, they didn't start using the J till in the entire English alphabet. They didn't use the letter J till the year 1611. So I call him what his actual name is, and his actual name is Yeshua.
Yeah.
And because I'm a truther, I'm part of the vast truth movement that exists now, especially in America. I shouldn't say that worldwide. It's pretty vast now. But there's a lot of people out there like me who want the truth out of everything.
Yeah.
We're tired of the deception. We seek the truth.
Is there available places of worship with like-minded peoples where you can congregate on a Sunday or a Wednesday?
That's the thing. I have various beliefs that don't line up with secular beliefs.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very lonely place. It's a lonely place within my own house, because the truth of the matter is I believe some things like, wait for it, the earth is flat. That's not a common belief.
You're a flat earther?
I am absolutely.
Don't tell me you're a flat earther.
I am absolutely a flat earther, and I can 100% prove that it's factual.
You can't prove it's factual.
I absolutely can.
That's proving false facts.
No, it's not. But have you ever researched it? Or have you just been a victim of program indoctrination since the time you
Program indoctrination tells you it's a flat earth.
No, program indoctrination.
Look at the moon.
Yes, I know. And trust me, I've had this conversation 1,000 times. and I'm looked at, and I'm called.
Look at the sun.
Crazy.
Sun.
Yes, I know.
So, is the Earth flat and in a circle?
No.
Is it a flat disk?
It